And welcome to my evaluation of my magazine. This is question 1, which states, how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? So when I was first making and researching this magazine in the development stages of it originally, I was looking towards indie as the genre, because I found that a lot of my personal tastes sort of just revolved around indie music. But I found that as I was making this magazine, I was striving more towards a broader genre, and to be honest, I think the style that my magazine represents as well is more on the pop side of things, and also my articles and just the general contents of my magazine seems more pop oriented. So I sort of changed from my initial idea of going for an indie magazine and moved more towards going towards the pop genre, because of just the fact that it's more expressive and it's just a broader genre in terms of its content. I was rather inspired by the magazine Billboard, which is a pretty well-known pop magazine. I think the biggest thing that I would say I was inspired by them was my masthead, actually. The title has nothing to do with it, but in terms of positioning, like this being down the side here, if you look at magazines in the pop genre, it doesn't, they're not here, they're always centered at the top, like here, where the exclusive special edition thing is. They tend to be around this area. And I saw the Billboard magazine's positioning, and I just thought that that's different and unique, and I wanted to do something similar. So I was rather inspired by that. Another thing with the masthead actual name, Supernova, this is when I believe it's slightly more on the indie side of genres, but I would say it's still in the pop sort of convention. And the supernova thing was because the definition of supernova is something along the lines of like a really, really bright star exploding. And I interpreted that in terms of music as someone who's not very well known, so underrated, as stated in this cell line. An underrated artist who's exploded into fame, and that's sort of what this magazine covers. Again, sticking with the pop theme, I made sure that the main article and the cover model and things was the biggest things on this page. So as you can see, the cell lines, like the other ones, they're pretty small. They just take this little area in the corner here. They're obviously noticeable and there for people who are interested, but the main title about Evan Green is here at the bottom in big letters and a big font, and it stands out using the color. Also, the actual model, my friend Ian, he is centered in the middle of the page, and it's a close-up shot of his face, and he's looking down. It just seems more expressive, the entire photo. Also, the fact that the way the lighting was used, that only the left, sorry, his right, but our left side of the page is lit up, and the other side is hidden. So it's sort of like you have to open the book to have a look, or the magazine to have a look into why it's like this, and it's all about the whole idea of the fact that he's coming to fame, so he's coming to light again, which is the whole idea behind this sort of divide here between the light and the dark here. Another thing that was, I think, actually kind of challenged the conventions of pop magazines, or just magazines generally in the music genre, is actually the colors I went for. My main house style color is this sort of baby blue-ish color. It's a blue. And then I have the important things like the exclusive special edition, and I have some other things on the contents page that are in this red thing to stand out more. But generally the color is blue, and I found that that's not a very common color used in magazines. I mean, if you look at Q, and their main magazine color, it's red. Um, NME, it's red. I'm sure the Rolling Stones probably uses a bit of red too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of them use the color red, and I didn't want to do red because it just seemed so typical, and I want to slightly stand out, as my magazine is all about new people trying to stand out. And I thought I should probably stick with that, so I thought the color blue seemed like a better idea to just sort of stand out and move away from the conventions of typical magazines. So I would say in that sense it's pretty abnormal in the conventions of magazines, though I would say for the most part everything other than the color and the positioning of the masthead pretty much following the conventions of a typical music magazine. Yeah, so moving on to the contents page. So again, I'm sticking with my house color, obviously, of blue, because I'm trying to stand out more. This font here, the red one, that's sort of got its own bar around it, that's to, this is the significant article in this magazine. This is all about my model Ian, or Evan Green, and as he's known in the magazine. When it comes to my contents page, I'd like to say again, it's pretty... No, actually no, I would say it kind of challenges conventions of magazines. I mean, it's a double page contents page, which whilst looking through many magazines, like, again, Billboard, Q, NME, things like that, they tend to just have the one page and maybe like 3 pictures that are sort of like here, here, and here, with text going like, well, text going like here, and you get the point. Whereas my magazine, as you can see, we've got text down the side here, and then we've got 2 other chunks over here and here. A little subscription box and other information about the magazine just over here, which I think is quite different. I've never seen that myself on a magazine. I mean, they tend to have them, but they're not... I haven't ever seen it explicitly on a magazine, like follow here or whatever. So I thought this was quite clever to introduce the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and have Supernova's own taglines for that, and a subscription thing with a scan this QR code to get 15% off next year's subscription. I haven't seen these sort of things in magazines, especially music magazines, before. But no, yeah, so I like, again as well, the number of photos on the contents page, I would say, is quite unconventional from the usual conventions of a music magazine. I mean, many of them only have 3 photos. I mean, yeah, sure, mine's only got 4, but they're across a double page spread, which again is different. And the reason I chose to do that is because I wanted to, show off more. I didn't think that I could, express true creativity with just one page. I needed I think the double page is more expressive for me as the person actually making the magazine, and it's more interesting of a read for the person reading the magazine because there's more to look at. So with these photos, so obviously the biggest one on the page is this one, which is obvious because this beautiful fella here is Ian, and he is the main topic of this magazine, Evan Green. He's the latest upcoming artist in the music industry, and I obviously wanted to have him as the biggest thing on the page. It's the most eye-catching because it takes the most space. And whilst the other ones here and here, they're smaller and they're still there to be seen, but they're smaller in comparison to the main topic over here. This one is the second biggest, and this is my friend Lucan. He is Luca Day. He's actually got the other article in this magazine, or he's part of it. There's not a whole article dedicated to him, but he is in an article. And this one is the second biggest because it's all about the underrated artists, which is what my magazine again focuses on. So I thought that this should have a larger size, which again I think sort of breaks from the conventions of typical magazines, because many photos in the contents page, they tend to be pretty much all the same size. They don't really have much significance. I mean, sure, for the average reader looking at that, they probably won't take much notice to the size differences, but what they don't know is it's probably slightly nudging them, like the different sizes will catch their eyes more. So it's like an invisible hand sort of guiding the eyes from across the page, from one page to the other page, looking at the different pictures, because the scaling of them will, I guess, highlight significance. So that's why Lucan is the second biggest. And then these two articles aren't written about, and they're pretty much the same size, but yeah. So with this photo of it, this is a close-up, again, of the inn, because it's meant to be more dramatic and expressive and things. And it's more interesting to look at as a photo. Again, it's got the light and dark thing, which I thought was pretty fun to play around with. Then here we have my good friend Kylie. She is for the top artist of the summer. There isn't an article about this one or this one, but you know, they're there. And this is more of like a mid shot, and I have all of the models, they all look a bit serious, because I wanted the lack of like a lot of expression to be a more powerful impact, so that all of them, they look kind of serious. I mean, especially Ian, and that's the point because he's the main article, but I wanted to keep the serious expression, which I think is quite different from the conventions of music magazines, especially in the pop genre, because pop genre magazines, they tend to be, you know, more happy, and people like bouncing around with balloons flying around them and stuff. I mean, this is very stereotypical, of course, but I mean, it is there, it's in the industry. So yeah, I wanted to sort of break away from that and have more serious expressions. I think it's just more eye-catching because you're used to seeing people smile at a camera, because obviously these are photos taken by a camera, but it's different. I just thought it'd be interesting. So I have Kylie with a mid-shot looking down at the floor, kind of sad, but it's quite an impactful shot, and I quite like the fact that she looks more like sad and things, whilst the background here is all very colourful and lively and stuff. I like the contrast there. Again, same with my good friend Ella. She looks very serious and stuff, and then she's got the colour on the jacket and the flowers behind her in the background, with her being really serious in the foreground. So I quite like that. So yeah, that's all the photos of, you know, the sizes and the scaling and stuff. I just thought that would be a good way to do it, and it sort of breaks away from the typical conventions of music magazines. Then heading to like the actual article headers and stuff. So I have the features being the most important one, and hence why it's first thing you see on the page, other than the photos, because they'll be most eye-catching. But then you'll probably look at the actual like features in the magazine and see what's there to read. So yeah, that's why this one is first, and you've got a larger title to just have the title of the magazine, like the article, and what it is about. So obviously we have Evan Green interview first, because that's the main feature, and then it's got the page number, again in blue, with this has also got blue accents, so under the line there's blue in the 2019 thing, up here as well, and just, I needed to, you know, spread my colour around a bit more, just because this page there's more writing than there is on the front cover, so it was important to include my colour, obviously, again, which is just sort of breaking away from convention, because pretty sure, I mean, not all magazines do this, but some of the ones I've seen anyway, the front cover tends to be the most like wow page, and then it sort of dies down a bit in the, like, as you go through the article and the content page and stuff. So I wanted to try and keep that theme present the whole way through. And yeah, so I have the features, which has got these and all that. these are the two articles that are actually written, the evergreen and underrated artists, and then everything else is, you know, there because it makes it look like a magazine that's actually been produced and stuff professionally, which is what I wanted to try and go for. I wanted it to look proper. And then you have summer 2019, just a few articles here, and there's some news and reviews, just the smaller things that are there that will attract the interest of other people. So yeah, moving on to my first article, which is on Evan Green, or Ian. So this page here is more of it's just to show off Ian, really. So as you can see, we've got the big 3 photos of Ian all in different colored lightings and stuff, showing slightly different expressions. So the red is him angry, this one is him looking to the side. You can't really see much of him, but that's the point, because I wanted him to be more, I don't know, just away from the camera. It's like the green to represent being shy or something, and then the blue to represent sadness. As you can see, he's got a more sad, expressive emotion on his face. Obviously we have Evan Green up in the corner here. I wanted to sort of take that from the masthead on the front cover, because I thought it'd be a cool idea to sort of bring that back through. We then have the actual title of the magazine, which is the biggest thing on the entire page other than Ian himself. So obviously you'll be drawn to Ian, and then from there you'll probably see the greatest king of pop, and king and pop are highlighted in the house style color of blue. And then we have a small description down here, which is pretty typical. This is following conventions, I would say, the little description and the big title and the massive photo that takes up a page or two. I would say that's pretty typical in magazines. Then we have, obviously, the article itself. I wanted to go for a question and answer article as my first one, because this is an interview about this upcoming artist, Evan Green. Obviously I have SN highlighted in the house color to stand out more. And this entire article here, it's just sort of talking about him as a person, so that people that are reading this, like mainstreamers and its aspirers and explorers too, because this is a music magazine about new music, so, but primarily focused on mainstreamers and aspirers, they get to sort of, they know what the new music is, and the aspirers can learn a bit more about their favorite people. So, you know, Ian as an upcoming artist, or Evan Green, he will have a massively growing fan base, and an interview just seemed like a logical thing to do for the audience and like social groups, you know, so the mainstreamers and stuff. It seemed right. So yeah, that's why we have a interview question answer sort of magazine, because it just gets a lot of information on the page. So yeah, moving on, this is the next page of the magazine. So now we have a wider range of photos, because all before they were quite dark, like, well, this one basically. They're all kind of similar to this. But I wanted to use these two here to sort of show another side to him, because obviously there's the whole dark to light thing, him coming out into the fame, but then there's also, you know, how he is as a normal person. Again, he's sort of seen as a more serious person, but this is him sort of like showing his, like, what it was like to grow up, because in the article, if you read, I'm pretty sure it says that he didn't grow up having loads of things. I mean, he lived off the bank of mum and dad for a while, so he struggled for a bit, and this, I guess, sort of represents his struggle out being in the street and stuff. It's just a expressive thing. That's why, again, he's always looking directly into the camera and things, and this is I'd say medium to close-up sort of shot. It's in between. I'd say more medium shot, though. And then this is more of a wide, but still mid-shot, I'd say. That's why I meant to say not medium shot, mid-shot. Again, here, probably a mid-shot. This is more close-up, but this is definitely mid-shot, because there's more of his body and stuff in there. But yeah, I wanted to show that sort of surrounding a different sort of side to him, because all of this is like the dark to light stuff, and I just wanted to get him out and what he's actually like, sort of thing. And you can read about that in the article. I have these pull quotes here and here and here. For a few reasons. Number one, it breaks up the page and it's more interesting to look at. If someone's just scanning through and they're not actually that interested about this person, but they want to get a little, like, small snippets of it, they can see these pull quotes when skimming through the article. And then again, number three, as the other point, is this is quite common in magazines I've seen, and I wanted to stick to conventions there. Same with why the text sort of covers up onto the photo. It's so I could get more in, and it's just interesting to look at. And I obviously kept it slightly transparent so that the photo can still be viewed and enjoyed. But yeah, I threw in an album review. These things, they often have a more comprehensive one, but because this is more about getting to know Evan Green or Ian, and like what it's like to be him and coming up as a upcoming famous artist. This is just a small little review thing to sort of give fans a slight idea of just his music. But again, that is also slightly talked about in the actual magazine as well, because it talks about the fact that his music is, well, it's just different, and what it's like and how he makes it. So you sort of learn that, and then this is just a small little album review that just sort of clarifies things a bit more. Moving on, we then have the final article, which I just threw in because I wanted to have more to show off, really, because I thought the 2 double-page spreads is good and all, but why not have 3? So this is the underrated artists. I've gone for a more, I'd say, more conventional look, though I'd say the previous article, again, is still following the conventions, but this one is very common. So it's literally just the title at the top in the center, a little description underneath, and then article all the way down. Then have this page as a photo, just to sort of, this all links here, like this is him, Luca Day, it's this guy, or my friend Lucan, and it's just sort of to, show off a bit more. So this is all original here, this is all me, this is a actual made up thing here. However, these other ones here, Melt Broods, Floor, Charlotte Cardin, they are all real life artists, and I'm aware that on the specification it says that, well, I'm paraphrasing, but it says something along the lines of all of the images have to be produced by the student, me, but I wanted to go against that, only slightly. I mean, all the other photos, they are mine, I own those, I took them. However, these are albums which are done by real life people. You can look Melt, Broods, Floor, and Charlotte Cardin. They're all on Spotify, I have to assume. I listen to all of them. They're all great artists, by the way, but that's irrelevant. I wanted to use real life things to make it seem more realistic as an article, because if I made my own album covers and own people for every single one, I would say it would start to look a bit repetitive, and that it wouldn't seem as realistic, because, I mean, like this one, for example, in fact, all of them other than this one, really, because that's an actual person, but these ones, and these one, this one, and this one, they're more like animation things. Like this is like a wolf with a house and fire, or mountains, or whatever, and a river. This is a person with a wolf as their head. I don't even know what that is, but it's a face of some sort. This is obviously a person. I could have done that, but I didn't. I just wanted to include it because it seemed more realistic. It's what actual magazines have. They have actual albums into them, actual people, and I wanted to do that. So I guess it's keeping to the conventions of of magazines, and I wanted to stick within the conventions for this article. However, I'm fully aware that it is not strictly written in the specification that it is something that I can do, but it's because I did it because I wanted it to be more realistic and follow the conventions of actual magazines. So yeah, that's why there are actual real life albums in this magazine, or this particular article. Of course, I followed with the usual, the house color. I did a little funky thing where it's like alternate, so black, black, blue, blue. Looked interesting. It's against the conventions of magazines, just slightly different. Yeah, also another reason for this article is to just appeal to a wider audience of people, because my magazine, it is for all social groups. It's for, really, I would say, but the main ones being like the mainstreamers, aspirers, and explorers, because mainstreamers want to know the best upcoming music, aspirers want to know more about them, or like maybe they want to be an upcoming artist, and then explorers, they just want to, get some new music and things. I would say that, like, you saw the price on the first page. Yeah, if you go back, the cover, it's $59.90 Hong Kong dollars. It's like £6. So I would say it's pretty affordable. I mean, in the UK, maybe not, but in Hong Kong, that is a pretty affordable magazine. I mean, there are magazines upward of $100, or, like 10, 11, 12 quid. Expensive. So this is a pretty affordable magazine, hence why I went for the social groups A, B, and C1. I'd say C2 and downwards, that probably wouldn't be spending their income on magazines like this. Like, I'm sure they could just Google something. But anyway, and I would say this magazine appeals to all genders. I mean, looking at it, it's probably more of a male-oriented thing. It's got a more masculine feel, but obviously it's 2019 and things. Anyone can take anything the way they want. So I personally think it's for any gender. It's not for a specific gender. It's for anyone who wants to read it. It's appropriate and friendly. So any age, any gender, doesn't really matter. I think it's appropriate, and they should be able to enjoy it. I mean, the age range is probably like maybe 13 or 16 to 45 sort of age. I doubt anyone below the age of 13 or anyone above the age of 45, 50 is that interested in spending their money on a music magazine. I'm sure these are the sort of things, again, that can just be looked up or have a look at the top charts on Spotify, but still. But no, yeah, I'd say that is the end of my evaluation. I'd say overall, the magazine does follow the conventions of a typical pop magazine, but from time to time veers away from it and is more original. I mean, the whole thing is original, but it is influenced by Billboard and Q and stuff. I mean, primarily Billboard. I think they were the main influence. I mean, when I was first looking at the magazine idea, Clash, that was a big one for me because of the minimalism. But I realized that when people look at a contents page, they probably want information more, so it veers more towards pop and Billboard sort of style. But yeah, I'd say it generally follows the conventions, but occasionally veers away. It's basically for anyone who wants to read it, but primarily the mainstreamers, aspirers, explorers, groups A, B, C, 1, and all genders, age 16 or 13 to 45 sort of thing. The models are all serious because it just contrasts in the way that they are as people and their backgrounds, because again, going back to the contents page, super colorful, serious face, super colorful, serious face, less colourful, but he stands out far more, so it's contrasting from the background still, and then this is the light to dark, so this is him coming into fame. So, yeah. Thank you. I'm pretty sure I've rambled on a lot, and this is a long video, but that's the end of my evaluation, question 1. Thank you very much.